Well, the thing is, Minister, it's very nice that you would like to select someone else to be in charge of the Quangos, but you need to go to a Quango in order to select the person to be in charge of the Quango.
Yeah. So the only way to deal with all of that would actually be to legislate, and you'd have to legislate to get rid of them, the Quangos.
Complete abolition of all of them.
Well, not all of them in one go, because obviously some you would probably want to keep, but the ones that were involved in regulating politics, you'd want to get rid of, I would think.
Isn't there some sort of problem with Quangos being able to act without ministerial oversight? Surely these should be, directly controlled bodies, so they're completely accountable to the government and therefore the government minister. Because the idea is, you elect your member of parliament, they form a government. Hopefully, if it's your team that wins, they form a government. From the Prime Minister, you go down, you've got the Cabinet. Below the Cabinet, you've got all of the other ministers within their departments or ministries. And below that, you have the civil servants, and they run everything. So whether they're running, the forestry, or this or that. The idea is there's a direct chain of command, and someone is responsible and someone gets sacked. And there is meant to be some sort of political cost to someone at the top. I think most of the reason we wanted to leave the EU was because, or much of it was because our politicians said, oh no, it's the EU's fault, and the EU went, oh no, it's your politicians' fault, and there was no accountability.
Yeah.
And there's no accountability here. So should we not get rid of every single Quango, or at least get rid of them as Quangos and put them under ministerial control?
So I like your theory of how there ought to be democratic control, but that hasn't been the way things have been operating now for a long time, and certainly since Blair. I mean, Blair was very keen on creating a sort of, well, the Americans would call it a sort of deep state, wouldn't they? But he was very keen on creating a state which was not subject to democratic whims and wills of the population, I think that sort of slightly brings us back to our point about the attitude to the English people, because the system is not responsive to the will of the majority. Obviously, when you talk about democracy, people talk about majorities, but very rarely are the majority. So if you think about people that get elected as MPs, they are usually not voted for by the majority of people in their constituency. I first had a look at this when we were going to stand in Henley after Boris Johnson stood down as an MP to become the London mayor. And Henley, apparently, the Conservatives were claiming that Henley had been Conservative for 120 years, which is rather strange when you think that the Conservative Party, as it stands at the moment, only came into existence in 1922, but there we are. That's what they were claiming. And the upshot was that when you actually analyse the figures, the Conservatives had only ever had the votes of about 35% of the electorate in recent times. So what you got was a situation where people who voted for others, but they didn't vote for any of the others to the same extent as they voted for the Conservatives. So the Conservative got elected on 35%.